Police and lawyers, guns and money. Dad, get me out of this. Ha!
All right. Welcome back to Pints and Politics, episode, what is this, 54? 54, that's right. This is the Brian Urlacher episode. I am solo today, so I think we're going to have a couple more guests this episode. Let me thank our sponsor before I get started, Comer Distributing. And today I am drinking a Slow Play Brewing Light Bright. It's an easy drinking lager. Again, as it's getting a little more summertime, spring weather. It's a good poolside beer. Tastes good. Again, it's like Guffey's favorite beer, Bud Light. And on this episode, he cannot argue with me. So, so anyway, on this episode, we've got guest Senator Michael Johnson. We're going to be talking to him about the Tort Reform debate that's been going on in the Senate here for a few weeks. Also going to give you another perspective. Joe Gulledge of Hoppin Rock Hill, which we're hosting this episode today, will give us the small business owner perspective on how the liquor liability issue in particular, but at large the tort reform debate has been impacting his small business here in Rock Hill. And then got a couple other local guests, Justin Smith and David Williams, to talk about the Marlie Center. This is a local project, development project going on here in Rock Hill that is an inspirational story. Got to meet the family of Marlie Drew Sullivan and thought it was just a good spot to highlight what's going on here in Rock Hill. So look forward to having all that. Before we have Senator Johnson join us, this past week we were in a perfunctory session, which is we have a lot of things going on, but we weren't gaveling into the House. But a lot of committee work was going on this week. So wanted to highlight some of that stuff. For me in particular, I'm chairing the PBM Ad Hoc Committee, which is a collaborative effort between the LCI Committee and the 3M Committee. We gavelled in at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, and it seems like we went hard in the paint until about 4 o'clock. We had a lot of great testimony. We'll be producing some of those reels on the Pints and Politics Facebook page and website. We heard from PBMs. Michael Power gave us some informative testimony on the roles of PBMs and how they impact sort of why PBMs came about as claims processors to, how they're impacting the drug pricing landscape now. So heard from him, heard from Jim Ritchie of the Alliance of Health Plans here in South Carolina. Also got some, I thought, great data from our third speaker, Sharice Richard, and she represented the Pharmacy Research and Manufacturers Association. She did not hold back, pretty hard-hitting, and I say that in a good way, because she took to task some of the testimony that we got from Michael Power. So we will pull all of that testimony, hopefully in some digestible moments, I'll say. Try to keep it 2 minutes or less on these reels, but a lot of information. I know this committee was inundated with a lot of just information that was informative, yet we did see some pushback in some of the questioning where folks, again, when it comes to this PBM issue, one aspect of this that concerns me is the vertical integration. When you have insurance companies that own the PBMs, that own the retail pharmacies, it brings to mind a monopoly. Not saying that it is, but it does bring to mind an anti-competitive nature to what I'm seeing. And again, jury's still out. Look forward to continuing that conversation. We do have our second meeting of the PBM Ad Hoc Committee on April 8th. That's a Tuesday at 9 a.m. Look forward to hearing from Eunice Medina, our HHS director. Also going to have a PBM involved in that conversation, as well as someone representing the sort of the pharmacy side. So look forward to that ongoing discussion. Also this week, I attended the subcommittee meeting that heard the education subcommittee that heard a bill talking about parents when they have special needs kids and need third-party vendors coming into the classroom. It's opening up some issues where school districts aren't allowing these therapists to come into the classroom to help aid those children when school resources are not available. And so trying to tackle that issue, so I attended that. I gave my personal sort of testimony and tried to help bring some awareness to that issue in my discussions with my colleagues on that subcommittee. Also, the full committee, education committee, heard the DEI bill. I thought Chair Lady Erickson did a good job, along with her subcommittee chair McGinnis, in talking about the issue of DEI. And look, this DEI thing is a hot button issue, and I understand that. But I think at the end of the day, while it's a sensitive issue, we can all agree that equal rights is a priority for all South Carolinians. And, during that 2020-2021 COVID year, things went a little squirrely on us. And we all have our different opinions about that. But, as Representative Brandon Cox said on a SIPS, I think that the word I like to use here is that the equal rights movement got hijacked, and things just went a little off. And so we're just trying to bring things back. We're trying to bring back the central theme of equal rights for all. And while I think our public institutions and our research universities and tech schools and everybody has started to shift some of their internal policies back to a merit base in decision making and those things, I think making sure that we have legislation in place that for now on we've learned from the mistakes that we've made, and we're going to ensure that discriminatory policies do not exist in public spaces here in South Carolina. So that bill passed out favorable of the full Education Committee, and we will hear it on the House floor in this upcoming week. So got a lot of work to do in the House next week. I've got a subcommittee hearing a little bit of healthcare consolidation, agency consolidation bill early Tuesday morning. And then we also have the DEI bill coming to the floor. And so stay tuned for that debate. Representative Guffey will be back from his European vacation at that point. So we will have a midweek SIP to give our two listeners an update on how that debate is going, or, if it passes or it fails. So look forward to being transparent about all of that and giving you guys updates next week. So in this episode, again, we're going to have Senator Johnson talking about tort reform. We're going to have a small business owner in Joe Gulledge who owns Hoppin, and then also bring a local story here from Rock Hill about the Marlie Center. So thanks for tuning in this week. And again, check out Light Bright Beer. This is out of a local brewery, Slow Play here in Rock Hill, and distributed by Comer Distributing. This episode of Pints of Politics is brought to you by Comer Distributing. Comer Distributing Company is a wholesale beer distributor located in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Founded in 1971, Comer is a family-owned business that distributes beer and other beverages to York, Chester, Fairfield, Lancaster, Kershaw, Lexington, and Richland counties. All right, welcome back. As we talked about at the top of the episode, we're highlighting the tort reform debate down in the State House that's, having a lot of conversation over in the Senate right now. In the House, we're waiting on the Senate to bring it over, but wanted to give the two listeners, an idea of how what we're talking about in the State House, in particular right now, this is Senate Bill 244, how it impacts our small businesses around South Carolina, and in particular right here in Rock Hill. Wanted to welcome Joe Gulledge, owner and operator of Hoppin Rock Hill. We have just to give the two listeners a full disclosure, Joe is my tenant here at the old Cotton Building that myself and a couple other buddies bought years ago, renovated, developed, and we were able to come to terms. And you've been here for what now? 2 years?
Going on 2 years.
Yeah.
It'll be 2 years in June.
And just to set the stage a little bit for you, Joe, give folks your background, because you got a unique background in, bars and restaurants, and wasn't your,
No, absolutely.
career.
I'm actually a retired educator. Spent 28 years in South Carolina teaching high school band. Did my last 7 years at Clover, and before that, 18 years here in Rock Hill at Rock Hill High School. So getting into business was an encore career, if you will, something I've been thinking about, had an opportunity to get involved with something on the ground floor. We're able to find a great space to do it in. We have a very unique concept with the self-pour tap room here at Hoppin and the food truck, but since opening, it's like, okay, here's what it is to be a business owner.
Right.
We never saw the alcohol liability issue blowing up the way it has.
Right.
It has become a huge, impactful event, not just for us, but for all bars, taverns, venues. It's starting to hit golf clubs, golf courses, and anywhere that sells any sort of alcohol in South Carolina is starting to feel the effects of the liability issues.
Right. And we did, over in the House a few weeks ago, we did pass a specific liquor liability bill that addressed some of the things that you discussed, not just bars and restaurants, but some of our nonprofits like the VFWs and those types of things that were really getting impacted because,
absolutely.
they're a smaller operation. And so we passed that out of the House a few weeks ago, like I said. And, again, unique situation here because the good thing is we're all, me owning this property and you being the tenant, we're all local. And when this hit you, last
April.
Yep. It became a sort of a collaborative effort in trying to figure out the solution, right?
Yeah.
I remember talking with partners over the weekend, talking with you, all of us digging into our networks to try to figure out how can we solve this problem.
How can we stay open?
Yeah.
How can we make it work?
And tell the listeners, as much as they need to know about what that challenge was, what did it look like?
Well, just to give a sort of a backstory of where we were and where we are now. When I was doing my business plan, a year before Hoppin was to open, and was getting my quotes. My quote for alcohol liability insurance for Hoppin based on projected sales was going to be roughly $20,000 a year. 9 months later, when we officially had to sign the paperwork and open, that quote went from $20,000 to $36,000, which was
still almost doubled initially.
It almost doubled initially, and then so when we went last year. We were coming up upon renewal, and we started the process in January with collecting information because we knew the markets were getting tight.
Right.
And then when we came upon April, the first quote I received was for $55,000, which was a huge punch in the gut, but it was the best we were looking at being able to do. We went to sign that quote. Less than 36 hours later, that company had pulled out of South Carolina offering liability insurance.
Wow.
So the next quote we received was for $160,000 to stay open, which is, untenable. There's nothing we could do. So we were, obviously, I was on the phone with the landlords, with our franchise owner, looking at every possible thing. We ended up, our insurance ran out that Saturday. We had to close down.
We had to
close down for a couple of days because we didn't have insurance and we were looking. So we were fortunate enough to be able to work with, our landlords and everyone, and we found a policy, but only by reducing our coverage.
Right.
No one really wanted to do that. We had $2 million for our coverage, and we had to drop that down to the million aggregate, and that was just to get a policy at $75,000 a year.
Wow.
So from 36 to 75,000. So that's from our bottom line, that's an additional $4,500 a month off the top in insurance payments that we, had no budget for. There's no way to really try to recoup that money in the short term. But, we were hoping that there would be some solutions coming forth in the legislature this year, which, as you said, the House bill passed. The Senate bill is in the works, and we're hoping that that's going to provide some relief. But in the meantime, the company that we have now sent me a certified letter in December telling me that they were not renewing me for this year. We've had no claims. We've had no incidences.
Yeah. That's what I was about to ask. So wait a minute. You go through year one, initial quotes were 20. You ended up signing for 36. Clean bill, no claims first year.
Yeah.
And that goes from 36
to
north of 150.
Yeah.
So 5 times, multiple.
And the only way to get it where we could afford it was to drop our coverage.
For us working together.
Yeah.
And that's a unique
absolutely.
situation.
That doesn't always happen.
Most landlords are not going to
take that risk.
Yeah,
it's a risk, absolutely, because we're all in. If there's a claim, the lawyers go after the deep pockets and wherever they can find that, and that's what we believe is part of the issue. Since this happened in last April, I have been very actively involved and helped form the South Carolina Bar and Tavern Association, of which I'm the president of now, and we're working to, try to activate more bars and taverns to understand what's going on and get the word out of how this is affecting so many different venues, bars, taverns, and again, it's starting to spread as
and like music halls and whatever.
Everyone that if you sell alcohol, it's starting to affect you, and it's there's a big back and forth right now between people saying it's the insurance companies that are causing it, and then it's the lawyers that are causing it. All I can tell you is we can't stay open if we can't get the rates down.
Correct.
Everyone knows that insurance is expensive and that those guys are going to make their money. I think the tell on this one, though, is, when we got our first quote for $20,000, there were 35 to 40 carriers in the state of South Carolina. Right now, we're down to 1 or 2 that are actually even offering policies.
Right.
And if you don't have, and if you have live music, if you have a pool table, if you do karaoke, all of those things factor into what your insurance premium is going to be, because, there's a risk assessment, and per their books, that's what's going to, and there's no, right now, there doesn't seem to be any discounts if, you've got your employees safe serve trained like we do here.
Yeah, right.
We ID everybody that comes in. Our system is set up that it cuts off 2 drinks once you're here. So there's a lot of control mechanisms for our organization, and we don't feel like we're getting any sort of relief because we're trying to do it the right way.
Right. And, that's a good point. The technology that you have here at Hoppin does have... It takes sort of the human component out of over-serving, right? It
does. Well, now there still is one. If once you hit your 2-drink limit, if you've been here for a while, we're happy to continue.
Yeah, right. If you're watching a ball game,
exactly, and we're going to monitor that, and that's where the human factor does come in. But it's, a lot of times people go, "Oh, you're at that free pour place." Well, no, we're not at free pour. Number one, it's not free.
It's
Number
self-pour.
two, it's self pour,
the nuance
and it is. Monitored, and there is it shuts off automatically.
Yeah.
It's been interesting with some people get it. We have other people coming here and they're mad. What do you mean you've cut me? Why would you cut me off? It's like, it's a safety precaution. Well, that just seems dumb. And I'm like, how would it be different than a bartender telling you,
right.
Hey, you've got to come back to your bartender to get another one? It's no different, but that's part of the learning curve. But we love what we've done here. It's very discouraging, especially as a new business owner, to get in and try to make something very unique in the city of Rock Hill, something that's available to everyone. And, the challenges between insurance and taxes and, it's just the expenses
Staffing.
of doing it. Yeah, it's a ton of different things that make it hard. Economy not being well is not a help either.
Yeah, it does make it more challenging. Again, considering this wasn't a career, right?
No,
This was
no.
this is like your second career.
Yeah, this
right?
is second career. I was excited. We have learned a lot trying to do some things, and I don't think there's anything we could have done different that would have us in a better position right now.
Well,
honestly,
and look, everybody who is a small business owner, you try to mitigate all the risk, right? You try to make all the unknowns known, at least for those first 18, 24 months, so you can anticipate the challenges. This is probably not one that a lot of folks in your shoes could have anticipated, knowing that, again, your insurance rate started at 36, and then with no claims in year one, it goes to north of 150.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so-
and we actually have a very easy metric too. Our home franchise is based right across the state line in South End, and they do probably double the business we do. They've had a couple of claims. Their insurance cost in North Carolina, $22,000. Ours right now, $75,000.
Wow.
And that's the difference just across the state line. So, if we don't, especially in a York County situation, we're going to be running into situations where businesses are going to leave
Just run
and go
right
across the
border.
line
Yeah.
because they're not going to have that challenge.
Yeah, and border counties like ours are in a unique geographical spot as well. That's a good point because, if you don't like it, you can go 10 miles up the road and
Exactly. If you don't like the way it is, how it works.
different regulatory landscape. So,
Completely.
well, wow, went from a retiree to small business owner to now advocate for small businesses in this liquor liability, all in about a span of 18?
In about 18 months or so. It was interesting. About a month ago, I found myself sitting in the Senate Subcommittee, Judiciary Subcommittee meeting for 3.5 hours, listening to testimony about S-244, and learned a lot with that because there's a lot more to S-244, Tort Reform, and joint and several liability in South Carolina than just the Bar and Tavern Association and the bars and taverns and venues. There are a lot of other people that I think are affected by the tort laws in South Carolina that I think most everybody believes there should be some modifications. It's a question of what those are and the process that takes.
Yeah, and Joe, you've come up and you and I have talked in the State House lobby with some other folks a few times. I think the Grapevine.
Yeah, the Grapevine people from here in York County.
And I really appreciate, and I think one of the guys was a little less patient than you were with me.
Yeah.
I just got there. He didn't understand where I come from, right? He didn't know that. Or maybe he did know that I was your landlord, but he didn't know that I was willing to work with you and our group was willing to work with you to try to adjust to make things a little easier, right? And so I do appreciate y'all coming up, giving me a unique perspective, and it really personalized it for me. Like, this is real jobs. These are real financial investments. And the stuff that we do down in Columbia, sometimes you feel a little in a bubble, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it puts an immediacy to it that, guys, hurry up. Like,
That's
a lot of dollars on the line, lives on the line, careers on the line.
Yeah, I think the last total we had within the last 18 months, there's been about 150 businesses that have went out of business because of just liquor liability laws and the inability to pay the premiums. We're not talking about people that have overserved or served underage that these
aren't responsible.
Yeah, exactly. The bad actors that are out there, and you're always going to have those. The rest of us shouldn't be penalized if we're trying to do the right thing, and it's what it feels like. It feels like we're all lumped into one group.
Right.
The premiums are going up to cover the lawsuits that the way the tort law is written now. We could have someone come in here today, right now at 3:00, have one beer, walk out, and
Just
later
go get
tonight,
hammered somewhere
and
else.
go get 2 or 3 other places, and we are all on the hook potentially for that, for the full judgment that would come out. So the insurance companies end up settling. That drives the premiums up.
Yep.
If there is a judgment, and
or settlement or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yep.
we sold one beer, but that judgment is $500,000, and we're on the hook for a $5,000, and we didn't
Some
overserve
portion.
anybody.
Right.
So it's that's where part of the issue is correcting that. and how is that done to where it doesn't affect other things in a negative way.
Yeah, right.
Because there's a lot of nuance within what goes on. And I know from the Bar and Tavern Association, we're understanding of that. We're trying to work within the framework of, the system in Columbia and get the information out of, here's what our members are facing, here's what we need to do, on our end. But we understand there are other challenges with the Truckers Association, with construction, hospitals,
healthcare,
exactly.
the whole deal.
It's a myriad of different things that are all up under this. So it's a tough call. It's a heavy lift.
It is. It is
for the legislature to do, but it needs to be done. I know, just from my standpoint, sitting in the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee meeting, it was very encouraging from my standpoint to watch 3.5 hours of testimony with the senators actively listening, asking great questions of everyone, and trying to get a viewpoint from everyone, intentionally going, okay, we've already heard from that, do we have someone from here? I appreciated that as a voter. It was a great learning experience from my standpoint, just watching the process and realizing that
all the nuance
that was going on, and the fact that our representatives down there, specifically in this case, Senator Johnson was running that meeting.
Yeah, that's his subcommittee.
Was really trying to be very thoughtful in what he was doing with getting testimony.
Well, and that's why I appreciated him joining us as well on this episode to give us the finer details of all of what he's experienced with trying to shepherd that bill through, make it the best bill possible, dealing with all of the stakeholders, like what you just talked about, and considering all of them to make it the best bill that they can. So, again, Joe, thanks for hosting this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, let us know.
Appreciate the hospitality, and look forward to hopefully getting some sort of relief done this year down in Columbia.
Let's hope so. Got our fingers crossed.
That's right. Thanks again, Joe.
Thank you.
Well, it's almost 5 o'clock anyway.
It's getting close.
It is getting close. Thanks for joining us, man.
Always.
You've been having a light week, or?
I don't do anything, you know that. I'm just hanging out on the Senate floor for 4 to 5 hours at a time.
Well, thanks for joining us. We have Senator Michael Johnson. This is your second term?
Second term.
Sorry, so second term is where they throw you into the fryer.
You actually start doing things, yes. You're allowed to speak again. So.
Yeah, so wanted to have you on, man, because I know you have had your wagon full with shepherding this tort reform bill through not only the Senate floor, but you were lucky enough to have it come through your subcommittee, right?
Yeah, I was the subcommittee chair, but even before that, if you think about it, so last year, 24, I sat on the subcommittee. I wasn't the chair, but I sat on the subcommittee that did that. And then that kind of died a slow, painful death. And then eventually, this past January, I got tapped to try to see what we could do on this, and spent 6 hearings and 4-hour per hearing type testimony. Wow. And now I have probably spent 5-6 hours in the well trying to explain it, cajole it, make it fit something, and here we are.
So, what are for our 2 listeners, some of the challenges? Is the size and scope of this bill one of the challenges that you've seen over the course of all this subcommittee work?
100%. It's almost too big. It's unwieldy. It's joint and several. It's liquor liability. It's alcohol server training. It's statute of repose. And if you don't know what that is, much like I'm an attorney, and I was like, "What are we talking about?"
Right.
I had to look it up again to think about it. It's venue. It's you name it. It's a lot of different issues.
Right.
And it's
a lot more to consider, right?
Well, yeah. You start thinking, look, I have an answer here, and every time. I put a perfect example. Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't remember the days begin to blur. I'm in the well, hour and a half. I'm trying to defend this amendment, so we'll have a working document. You know how important that is in both bodies. You got to have a document to work from. I'm trying to get this working document passed. I get it passed, and within minutes, the lobby is saying, whoa, wait a minute. We didn't want this part, or we want that part. And it's just so many voices because it's so complicated and it's so vast that everybody has an opinion on what you should tweak or not do or how it should look.
Right. And I think that's why, on the House side, just focusing on the liquor liability component was a little easier lift, let's say.
Man,
just focusing on bars, restaurants, the VFWs that do sell was something that we thought we could deliver, and we did. Also, that was all in the same week that you guys had a rough go of it on the Senate floor, because we're passing out that Thursday.
Yeah, and we're over there
tabling
amendments.
Not tabling.
We're at war with each other in the Senate at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. So as of now, where is it now? Because I know y'all went late a few evenings this week. Added some amendments.
So we've adopted one amendment.
Now, is this the Michael Johnson?
It is the Michael Johnson amendment. God bless it. And even now I realize I have to clean that up.
You. So for the two listeners, I'm at dinner and I get a text. We just got the Michael Johnson amendment. And I was like, what is the Michael? And, they tried to describe it. And I was like, okay, I'll just ask Senator Johnson later.
It was on sections 2 through 14. I mean, it was literally one of these just unbelievably complicated. And I'm asking, an hour and a half just answering questions. And then finally somebody stood up and said, yeah, let's just pass this and move on.
Yeah.
And we did. And I realized we got to go back and tweak even parts of the amendment. The amendment wasn't to be the end all. It was to get us started on a conversation. Look, had we just done liquor liability, we'd have passed you a bill already.
Right.
But we are trying to conquer, joint and several, which is really the entire point of this legislation in the Senate. And that is a monster. And, like as you said for your two listeners, joint and several is a concept in which if two or more defendants are sued and one defendant is found 51% or more at fault, they, under certain circumstances, not all the time, but under certain circumstances, could be found 100% liable to pay the bill. And there is a certain unfairness in that, and it has created issues that have trickled down to bars and restaurants and commercial contractors and all sorts of people who are trying to run their businesses. And so we want to fix that while also recognizing that there is an innocent person who gets injured from
a victim or
that
victim's
happens.
family.
A victim, he's on his way to work and a drunk plows into him because he was overserved at a bar. Well, that person didn't do anything wrong, and so we have to try to balance those scales to make sure that person can get compensated without driving the entire bar and restaurant industry under at the same time.
That's right. So what is, on the Senate bill, how is joint and several being changed? What's y'all's approach there? How is it, I guess, more equitable or more fair?
Well, therein lies the problem.
That's
right?
still marinating?
It is. Under the bill as filed, joint and several is gone. It doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
It's a total elimination.
Everyone is proportional share?
Everybody is several. So, and so what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is if I am smart, and there are smart lawyers in the world who will create corporations that will be at fault but won't have insurance or have minimal limits, and then the people who are actually pocketing all the money from that process are in another company that won't have any fault, but they'll have real insurance. And so it will deny potentially plaintiffs from getting recovery. There has to be a balance, and I've tried to convince my colleagues of this balance, mainly because if you go to just a straight, well, you're 10% at fault, you pay 10%, well, that's great as long as you have insurance to cover that 10%. But if you don't, then this system begins to break down.
Yeah.
And you don't want somebody coming after your personal assets. You don't want somebody trying to do all of that type of thing. So look, if this was easy, we wouldn't be on week 4 of it in the Senate. I mean, this is hard, and there's a reason for it.
It seems like y'all have been tackling some, I guess, red meat issues this session.
Well, we did education
Yeah.
and now this, and they're kind of our two major pieces of legislation, and both were extremely difficult, and both have taken almost a month of our time to get them done.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, in this time around, it seems like there has been a lot more awareness about what y'all are trying to get done. I have recognized the social media platforms going bananas when it comes to Senate Bill 244. What can we attribute to that sort of attention?
Money. It's just money. I mean, tort reform is more about money than anything else. When we talk about choice in schools, that's truly just a thought process and a theory. Tort reform's money. Insurance companies are going to make more money, or trial lawyers are going to make more money. Caught somewhere in between that is the consumer, right? The guy who pays the premiums and the person who gets hurt. And so when the extremes spend money, and they have money to spend,
right.
And they have, if you haven't seen the call Senator Michael Johnson to tell him yes or no text yet, it is coming to you.
I've gotten, I think, 4 of those about our own Senator Clymer.
I want to tell you a quick, funny story about that. So that text has been going out on me for a month now. I've gotten 0 texts. No one's ever called me. No one's responded to me. No one's looked at me. Nothing.
Really?
I get a phone call the other day. You're going to love this. I get a phone call the other day, and it's from former Senator Kevin Johnson. And he said, Senator Kevin Johnson says, Michael, he goes, I'm getting thousands and thousands of these phone calls. He says, who is doing this? And of course I said, I have no idea. It's like, I have no idea. It's not my phone number. I think it's hilarious. But no, literally, no one has called me. And don't feel like you need to. I understand where we're at. But yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That is great. A similar story.
Somebody spent a lot of money to bother someone not in the Senate. So.
Senator Johnson and Johnson. Similar story is I had my email is Heath Sessions and someone within our local party had put it as Health Sessions, and it was contact your local representative Health Sessions. And so I was not getting a single email. Our whole delegation's getting just overwhelmed with all these emails, and I think it was in our first term because they've fixed it since then. But wow, that's pretty good. So likelihood of getting something out
this week, 100%, this week. Yeah. Don't know what it's going to look like. Don't know the particulars. I just 30 minutes before I drove here, went over some issues with an attorney, insurance defense attorney. We talked about how you win it, how you lose it, what it's going to look like. The goal, we have one goal: to make the system better, to rebalance the scales of justice. I think this week.
Yeah.
By Wednesday night. It's Wednesday night around 11:30. Text me, we'll have a deal.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, high level, it's about improving a system to where it's more fair.
That's the only issue. We have to make a more balanced, fairer system. Why do you have the issue we have? Why do we have alcohol liquor liability issues? Because there's 3 people selling insurance in South Carolina right now. Mm-hmm. There's 3. Now, there's 44 who say they will, but there's 3 who are actually doing it. If you want to make the system better, we're going to have to convince more carriers to come inside, begin to sell. We can do that, but you have to rebalance the system, right? I mean, who wants to write something that you lose money on?
Yeah.
I don't sell widgets that lose money. You don't build buildings that lose money. So
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
100%.
Well, look forward to maybe seeing you over in the cooking room.
Or maybe I'm not even sure they're going to let me move that far away from the. I expect 3-4 more hours of myself in the well, but
okay.
Yeah, I think we're getting there.
Well, good deal. And for the 2 listeners, we get a lot of input and concern about what's going on in the Senate, and I always tell our constituents, like, look, the Senate, this is a process, right? It's a more deliberative process over there. You guys like to talk a little more than we do over in the House?
We like to say things that matter, but go ahead.
But look forward to getting that from the Senate, and then we'll maybe the House members will start getting those text messages.
Get ready. I mean, there's money to spend, and your phone number's going up on a text any day now.
All right. Well, thanks again, Senator Johnson, for joining us here at Hoppin
thank
Rock Hill to talk about this important issue that affects small business.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it. All right, welcome back to Pints of Politics. Joining me this segment is Justin Smith and David Williams. Now, y'all are part of what, the Marlie Center Foundation?
No. The Art Center at Fountain Park.
Okay. Now,
Which primary purpose at this point is to design and build Marlie Center.
okay, gotcha.
And we're working with Marlie Center Foundation on getting that done, as well as a lot of other people around.
Yep. So I'm having we were talking just before the segment, I'm having a Slow Clay Light Bright beer that's distributed by our sponsor, Comer Distributing, and it looked like you guys were having a Chablis. What did y'all get here at Hoppin that...
I don't know if you know, but Cooper also distributes liquor now. So you were enjoying a nice margarita from Comer Distributing.
And locally, because we're all friends and go to church together. Cheers! Happy World Down Syndrome Day.
Cheers.
I know that's always
Got my mismatched socks on.
Yeah. So appreciate all that. Appreciate the support. So this segment, I wanted to just talk about what the Marlie Center is, how sort of the idea of the Performing Arts Center and that sort of meshed together and became one. So, Justin, why don't you talk about it from your perspective of, because you were part of the performing arts stuff. And
So back in 2016, 2017, there was a study that came out that basically told us we need a performing arts center. Emporium led the charge with producing this study, and over the last, call it a decade at this point, even though
it feels like
we're getting close.
it's been a while. So we have been fundraising and designing and doing all sorts of things, but with the needs of this community and with the growing downtown that we have, we just think this is a great next step for our community, and it's going to be a great thing for downtown.
Yeah, not only it's going to be a performing arts center, I think now we're integrating some of the things that the city actually needs too. Whether it's ballroom, conference center to host some conventions, maybe a little smaller, but it's also going to be, so it's not just arts. It's going to be programmed with education. I think there's some workforce development components with York Tech now getting involved, and then also the city coming to the table and saying, hey, if y'all are redeveloping this space, Warren Norman company is developing the proposed right next door, right?
That's right. And with it too, I think that, we tried for a long time and continue to try to get everybody engaged in what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's so exciting about Marlie Center is, hey, people are coming and saying, hey, how can we help? How can we get involved?
Right.
And people are like, oh, do we need a performing arts center? Do we need, well, we've got all these different places. Well, we need something downtown that's a community center that brings people together. And we bring people together. That's what it's all about. That's what Rock Hill does well.
Yeah.
So, we're going to keep pushing to try to make this thing into what it can be. We've got the hotels now. We're talking about the Shepherd Hotel coming in, where the old Guardian building is. That used to be the Andrew Jackson Hotel back in the day. And that's a whole other story that you should talk about sometime. But as we talk about a hotel, potential convention center, potential performance center, meeting space, all that, that's what we need downtown. And we support the local establishments.
Yeah, and I'll chime in. I moved my office in downtown Rock Hill in 2012, and that really, I don't want to say it was the lowest it's been in a while, but it really felt like it, because Periwinkle's went out of business. Old Town Bistro was not far behind.
I think it was Vignette
McHale's and like a couple of wig shops.
Yeah. Correct. Well, we tried a lot of different antique shops. I was on the Old Town board back then. Hey, we got a new prospect.
Well, we have homegrown.
You know, you're still the president of that board.
Oh yeah. And we've done a hell of a job. Great job.
Well, I mean, Food Truck Friday, the first Food Truck Friday, we begged food trucks to come. And I think we got 10. And now it's like a 6-month waiting list. Like,
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and not only just, it's not unique just to Rock Hill or York County, but our state, right? The secret is out, it seems. Everybody wants to come here, live, work, play, all those good things. And so in talking about this development project right on Main Street in downtown, David, you mentioned the Shepherd Hotel. There's also going to be a restaurant component as well. And for those of you guys who do not know, Rock Hill is home to Miracle Park. I've talked about it before on the podcast before. David was an integral part of getting that idea started to make it a reality. We just broke ground on phase 2, which was awesome. And so with partnership with the state and Winthrop Miracle Park became a reality. Now with Shepherd Hotel, we're now actually going to have a hotel that has a special needs component to it.
We are, and the hotel and the restaurant portion. I mean, the beautiful thing about it is, the goal is to hire people of all abilities. So we were getting people with all different abilities in there. And when I saw this concept in Clemson,
Wait, where?
Well, in Clemson, go ahead, Heath.
Yeah, the basketball team's home by now.
Back.
I woke up to a text this morning from Heath at 6 o'clock directed to Justin talking about Clemson being out of the tournament.
What was my response?
Why are you so eager at 6 o'clock?
So literally I took that from a Clemson fan from like before the game that said Clemson ball beat McNeese State. Yeah. I literally copied and pasted it. I said I could have been more hateful. I could have been bless your heart.
Yeah, that's right.
I said you woke up at 6 o'clock today and chose hate.
But Clemson is a beautiful place, Steve, and the Shepherd Hotel is a beautiful place. And when I saw the employees, the people that work there of all different abilities coming in, hugging each other, they're ready to go, they're ready to serve food, they're ready to, valet your car, and seeing the kids in the Clemson Life program working with the kids with special needs, it was a pretty special thing. And this hotel is also beautiful. You've got a beautiful hotel with beautiful people working there, and it's gonna be a beautiful thing for Rock Hill.
Oh man, I'm excited. Every time I run into Warren, I seem to be running into him a little more these days with all we got going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, just excited as all get out to see, and they're already starting to clean up.
Yeah, demo has started.
Yeah, man. So that's going to be awesome. So
I don't want to put words in Warren's mouth, and he is notoriously late for everything. But I think spring of next year, right? I mean, that's the idea. That's the idea.
I'm gonna let you say that, Justin. That was Justin Smith.
So let's talk about we talk about a lot of things and how we're all about our community here in Rock Hill and those types of things. David, talk to us about how this became sort of a passion project, not only just for you and on a professional level, but on a personal level. This thing was started as what we know as the Performing Arts Center. It is now progressed into what we're naming the Marlie Center. So why don't you tell the two listeners about that experience?
Yeah, so the night of July 25th, my wife and I were sitting on the couch and got a call from our son, and in a complete panic. And that's when the golf cart that he was on with Marlie and some other friends got hit by a car coming through our neighborhood at about 70 miles an hour. And getting there that night and dealing with the trauma and the emotion and everything that happened that night was horrific. It's something I obviously will never forget. And as we started working through that process and started working through with Marlie's parents, Ben and Stacy, and seeing the love of this community show up after the wreck, after the accident, and really starting to, I understood how important this community is to people, but when you see that, the lowest point of so many of our lives, and you see the people that come out and support you. And so, and you see the love, you see the people that just want to do something, and then understanding quickly what Stacy and Ben wanted to do, and some of their friends wanted to do to continue Marlie's legacy. We quickly understood that this needed to be big. And I know that that Stacy and Ann Backham kind of talked and said, hey, there's something going on downtown that is a performing arts center, and dance was so important to Marlie. And I mean, Justin, you've been in that area, and I don't...
Not personally,
but with your daughter.
My daughter did.
Right. And you quickly learn, like...
It's serious.
How serious it is, how important it is, how beautiful it is. I mean, it's a lot like, with my kids being involved with sports and baseball, whatever it is, it is a big deal to these kids, and they learn so much confidence. They learn how to work with other people. They learn how to accept other people. They learn how to be on a team together, and that was so important to Marlie. And as we went through that, those times and those late nights and all of those discussions, I think Ann called Warren, was like, hey, what's going on? And then we got, called Justin and said, hey, we've got this, what it has historically been a performing arts center that we need to get Marlie's name on. Right. And so Comporium was the name sponsor for this. Right. Right. And so
and for the folks who live outside of our area, Comporium is our local internet, telephone, cable provider.
Right.
It's been a community partner here for 5 generations.
Yeah. So it all started right here, actually. I've seen the commercial.
That's right. That's right.
But so they graciously said, look, we're going to give you the naming rights, call this the Marlie Center. And when it became the Marlie Center, the passion that I talked about earlier from all the people in Rock Hill, I mean, it is unbelievable. And you guys getting involved on the state level, the city getting involved. And I mean, to Justin's credit, Justin's kind of been herding the cats, because there's a lot of us cats to be herded, and Justin's done a great job of that. So we're off and running.
Yeah, it's great. And what's the name of the gala that we all went to over?
Come Fly.
Yeah, that was awesome, and raised close to $1 million.
Yeah, it was incredible.
In Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Right.
That's the crazy thing.
The Marlie Drew Sullivan Foundation did a fantastic job, and the community came together. Yeah. And the other thing too, Heath, is like my son and the other kids that have been able to be involved in this.
Oh yeah.
And see what this community has been able to do with such a terrible, tragic situation, but see how the love comes out in the support.
Yeah, and some, I see some universal threads in, what happened with Gavin Guffey, where his family took a tragedy and turned it into an opportunity to advocate, right, for child safety online. I think, again, this is a family, Ben and Stacy Sullivan, taking something that they have the strength that I don't have.
Yeah.
I told them that personally at an event, that I don't know how they can do it, but I appreciate that they're doing it, and they have turned this tragedy and turned it into something special, not just for the friends and family of their close network, but for this Rock Hill community.
That's right.
So,
and you see, I mean, a lot of us wear these bands, live like Marlie.
Oh yeah.
And you know what that means? That means accept everybody. That means love everybody. And that's the thing that we want to keep going in this community, is for everybody who walks through that door to understand how Marlie's legacy is going to continue making us better.
Yep. And again, one thing that really touched me was, because my boys been in Asher Man Music, they just get engaged, right? And to see the story of how dance really brought out Marlie, right?
That's right.
How it transformed her. She found identity and expression out of that, and seeing how art can impact young people in different ways is just amazing. So that's always something that I appreciated about hearing about Marlie as a young girl, right? So appreciate you sharing that story. I know that's a personal one, but yeah, man, looking forward to seeing what we can do with the Marlie Center. Look forward to continued work.
See,
and let Justin herd cats.
yeah, that's right.
And just a side note, I cannot let you off without talking about reason number 59 why I hate Clemson University. I mean, I had them going to the Elite Eight. They have wrecked my bracket.
I thought you were talking about because of Justin specifically. And I was thinking, like, I mean, y'all are friends, man. That's
Yeah. Yep. So I think I threw this out to you guys earlier. We'll wait for the tournament to finish today, and then we'll run it back on a best of 32 bracket.
Yeah, I'm done. And I know you're anxiously awaiting the women's game to start, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got tickets. Emma's down there now.
Oh, I thought if they play now.
Yeah, Lady Emma. Yeah, so Emma's going with Granddad.
Beautiful.
Hopefully, cross your fingers, not count anything. Hopefully, they get out of the first round.
Yeah.
And we'll be down there. Yeah. You cannot ever assume your team will get out of the first round. Clemson University.
The 5-12 seeds, man. God, every year. 5-12.
Well, the coach was from Clemson grad.
Yeah.
He's already accepted a second job, or he's going to West Virginia when they get out. I was like, well, that's terrible.
Oh, really? I thought it was NC State.
Oh, NC State. I'm sorry. You're right.
Oh, really?
So y'all are going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, again, Justin Smith, David Williams, thanks for joining here on Pints of Politics to talk about this important project going on here.
I would. I thought that this was going to be. I thought I'd get an invite to talk trash to Guffey before a serious invite.
Yeah.
So whenever you need me to do that, I'm game.
All right. So next week.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.